Good afternoon, all. CamelbackTrading.org coming to you this Friday afternoon, September 16th. We are looking at Window Trader's market profile of the ES and SPY. What a difference a week makes. Last week, we ended up 15 bucks on the week. We had our time frames, outside week up on the weekly, up on the daily with the gap as my main focus. What do we have this week? Well, now we have still balance on the weekly, but it's an outside week down. We still have a gap on the daily, but now it's on the downside, and we're down on the daily. So a lot changed here in 1 week. On the week, SPY right now is down. We closed last week at 406.60. Where are we now? 386. So we're down about $20 on the week. So very, very disappointing, especially with the outside week down. Now, the outside week up didn't provide much. We'll see if the outside week down does. I can tell you one thing. You're going to have a catalyst next week with the Fed. Market pushed back today after gapping lower. We do end with the gaps, though. The SPY, ES, and Russell and Righty held their gaps. Q and NQ filled theirs, okay? Outside week down for ES, SPY, NQ, triple Qs, but not for Righty or IWM. Had a good day today, got back on the horse. You know, we talked about it. We saw the market pretty well today, especially in the afternoon. You know, the question you always pose to yourself in the room when the market was pushing from E through J, what is the market trying to do? The market's trying to go down. How good a job is it doing? Well, F barely got the low, and the rest of these time frames couldn't even get F. So we knew they were struggling. And what happened? They get taken out to the woodshed once again. So just things to keep in mind. As far as my trading today, and we're going to go over all the charts today, so let's go over all this stuff rather quickly. Now, believe it or not, even though A, B, and C went up, I did nothing but short and make money on it. I shorted A period once. I shorted B period 3 times. We were getting these pretty good pops up and then retracing them very quickly. It was very hard for me to want to long, even though we took out the IB high right away. By the way, we took out both sides of the IB, and we took out the IB high twice. And you can see now we're trading or attempting to get into the gap in N period. But I did well on shorts. Missed a short in C period. I had an offer at the overnight POC where we were 16 or 17 wide. I'm not sure if that's updated right. Had the offer there, never got to it, and then look at that, rolled over. So I did well on shorts in A and B, but I missed one in C. Now, after that, I was long the rest of the day. When things change, you have to change. So even though value was lower, we had lower gap, indices were down, you can sense sellers weren't getting much. So when F made a new low and didn't get anything, I longed it. When I thought H was going to stop the one-time framing down, I longed it. And then I also longed, I didn't do anything in I or J even, because I wasn't sure. They kept pushing. I'm like, well, you know, we're going to get a decision soon. I said, we're not going to stay here. We're either going to get going below this low and go get the weekly gap that we've talked about. Not a weekly gap, the other gap below us. Or we're going to flush out the weak shorts. Well, we flushed out the weak shorts. So I didn't do anything in I and J, but I did long K and L. And did well on those. Did nothing in M. So good day overall. All right, destinations. For the upside, we have today's high of 386.25 and then filling the gap at 388.78. So it's a 253-point gap in SPY. Okay? It's a lot less in the ES. SPY has the dividend. And then we have the afternoon rally high of 394.54 from yesterday. So think about that. If we fill this gap, there's nothing to that afternoon rally high. Now, again, I won't ignore 8 wide, but I'm not carrying it forward. So pretty interesting, right? And when we get to the charts, I'm going to explain what I expect going into next week up until the Fed. As far as the downside, we have today's 10 wide pocket 383.62. And then we have today's low. Now, SPY has a weekly poor low, 382.11. Okay, and then below that, 380.66, another weekly low. and then I gave you the other gap. For the ES on the downside, 69.25 is 10 wide, and then 53 is the weekly low. For the upside, 95.25 is today's high, filling the gap at 05. Then we have 63.50 afternoon rally high from yesterday and 77.50 daily high. Now, let's get to the charts and break all of these down top to bottom. So we're going to start with the little Russell. These bars are pretty interesting, right? Look at this one, look at this one so far. So their monthly is firmly in a balance, right? It's a 5-month balance, just like we are. Nothing's going to change for a while in Russell on the bigger time frame, or any of us for that matter. Now look at the weekly. The weekly had a chance for an outside week down, but did not. 177.50 was last week's low. We closed inside of it at 178.99. So it's a 3-week balance. However, the entire range is this week. So again, the Fed's going to play a huge part by Wednesday and most likely Thursday after the market digests everything, how we come out of this balance. And the daily is firmly down. Gap is my main focus. Okay? Their 20 is about to trade below the 50. So the monthly is balanced, the weekly is balanced, the daily is down on the Russell. Triple Qs. Monthly is balanced, 5-month balance. Again, it's going to take a while. Weekly, balance, but they do have an outside week down, as last week's low was 290.87, and they closed at 289.20. So it's balance, but it's an outside week down. The entire week is the balance range. And the daily, again, firmly down, but no gap here. No gap. That's one silver lining. The 20 crossed the 50. So the monthly is balanced, the weekly is balanced with an outside week down, and the daily is firmly balanced. The daily is firmly down, I'm sorry. Monthly balance, weekly balance, daily down. Now, let's go to SPY. NES. Same thing. So the longest time frame is still waiting for a lot of information. But look at this trend line I have, right? I've put this here. We're getting closer to it, aren't we? Right? We keep coming down, but haven't touched it yet. We'll see after the Fed what happens. Do we get below it and accept it? Do we get below it and bounce up? A lot of things on the line. Weekly. Balance. Outside week down. We took out last week's high, closed below last week's low. Just like last week, we took out last week's low, but closed below above last week's high. Look at this trend line. We've really failed at it, haven't we? Now, so the monthly is balanced, weekly balance, outside, week down. Now let's go to the daily. Down, gap is my main focus. 20 crossed to 50. This next gap is a big target. Okay? Now, we did, by the way, almost 99 million. We're going to do over 100 million with the after hours, finally. We've talked about those progressions of lower highs. Here's 1. Here's 2. Here's 3. Where's the 4th one going to be? Right? And lower lows. Here's 1. Here's 2. Here's 3. So if I put a trend line, right? If I put a trend line from here to here, lower lows, lower highs. Here's what we have to ask ourselves for going into next week. Do the bears want to get aggressive enough to take this monthly balance out, right? And make a new leg down out of the outside month down and go fill this daily gap? Now, that's a possibility. But the bigger question is, will that happen Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday morning prior to the Fed, or will it possibly happen after the Fed? A lot on the table next week, right? Here's my feeling. I wouldn't be surprised if we might come into balance on the daily prior to the Fed at 2 o'clock on Wednesday. So whether it's taking out today's high or if Monday is in, whatever. If Monday goes down a little more, comes back in, or it's, taking out Tuesday's high, I wouldn't doubt we're in balance prior to Wednesday. If not, that means the sellers are really still aggressive prior to the Fed speaking. That would be interesting. I'm not saying that can't happen. It certainly can. I'm just thinking the way the market closed today and everything, and the way the sellers seem to kind of dry up after a period, and really didn't get any legs in the afternoon and barely took out the day's low. That's why I'm kind of leaning that way, but it remains to be seen. Anyway, really appreciate you guys and gals liking and subscribing to this channel. Again, I'll go into more detail in the next week or so about most likely raising the price to $40 a month for my room for new subscribers come January. So if you have an interest, why not come and spend 3 months at $30 a month and see if you like it. If you like it, you're guaranteed $30 for life. If you don't like it, okay, you spent $90. I think you're going to like it. So again, that's something to please check out. Thank you for the likes and subscribing to these videos. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll speak prior to the opening on Monday.